Hey, I'm Daniel, and I'm a staff writer here at The Movie Buff. This week, I was able to speak with writer and director Wyatt Rockefeller for his new film, Settlers. This film is a unique sci-fi film about a group of settlers on Mars who have to fight against the elements as well as other inhabitants, as the dynamics between everyone become a bit unpredictable as the film goes along. Settlers is releasing through IFC Films today, July 23rd, and will also be available on demand. So let's get right into the interview with Wyatt. Hey Wyatt, how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Good. I'm happy to be here chatting with you about Settlers for the Movie Buff show.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled to be talking with you. I really appreciate the interest. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'd love to start with the background question, as I learned that you worked in energy policy and development. So I'm just curious how that leads to a career in filmmaking.
Well, I mean, the short answer is it doesn't, but it did inform. It did. I've wanted to make movies since I was 11, and then ended up taking this detour after university into policy and energy, basically, but realized at some part along the line that no, this is that I'm lying awake at night thinking about stories I want to tell, and can't sleep until I get up and write down the dialogue in my head. So at some point, I just realized like this is what I need to at least try to do, and that's it's been a journey. It's been a long journey to get to this point for first feature, but I would say that thematically, that background does, perhaps one way or another did inform the themes of this, of environmental degradation and the resulting mass displacement of people. But I will say up front, I did not sit down to write a political film, or it was really more about the characters, and that formed a convenient backstory. But I think we're all products of our times, and I suppose these issues were top of mind.
Okay, cool. Okay, how did you think of these character dynamics? Because they're very unique, and just in how they come about.
So I had the idea a few years ago, and it kind of sprung up fully formed. Basically, I was in the woods with my dad, and looked up ahead of him. Imagined this guy patrolling the outskirts of his farm, and started thinking about what might he be patrolling for, guarding against. And by the time we got back to the house, I basically had the full story up to the point where Jerry puts the gun down on the table. And at that point, it wasn't set on Mars at this point. It really was just a plot. But all the dynamics were really there, and the dilemmas that they were facing were there, and it just struck me as, wow, that's really dark. And when a story tells itself, I think that's a good sign.
Okay. Now, what's it like making a sci-fi movie with no space helmets?
It's funny you say that. My dad has been, telling like his friends and stuff, hey, my son made this movie. It's a sci-fi without in a sci-fi western without horses or space suits or anything like that. But I've always thought of it as a western, almost wrapped in the skin of a sci-fi. Basically, it is people struggling to survive on the frontier, and because they are effectively refugees from Earth, that I think only reinforces that this is effectively an immigrant story. And I think westerns really are immigrant stories. They are about people trying to build a new home in a foreign place, and often a hostile place. So yeah, I mean, when you're making a sci-fi, we were always thinking about we don't want this to look like anything that's come before. At the same time, there is this genre vocabulary that audiences have, right? Not only about what Mars looks like, but also what the future looks like to a certain extent, and you defy that at your peril. And so we were always, I think it's really about being in conversation with what has come before, within film and popular culture, while also trying to chart your own course.
Okay, and I think you definitely did chart your own course with this like very unique story. Um, what's it? What was it like?
Appreciate that.
What was it like filming in South Africa on that set? Because in capturing the look of Mars with your cinematographer Willie Now.
So I really like shooting on location, and that's really because it's pretty much nothing better to do than make a movie. You know, you're all out there together and just getting on together, and you become this family. You know, and these were very harsh conditions. We were dealing with sandstorms and heat, you know, extreme heat, and people really, the crew pulled together. You know, morale actually improved through those toughest days because, you know, like we'd been through it together. And working with Billy was it was a dream collaboration because, you know, he is a natural storyteller. He thinks in pictures. We spent a ton of time together in pre-production, just mapping out every single scene so that when we got to set, we didn't even have to look at the plan, look at the shot list or the overheads. You know, and if we needed to change things, we could on a dime because we really knew what the scene was about. And I knew that he did too. And so I could focus, you know, on the actors while he was setting up the shot. And because I knew we'd already been through where that was going to be. And so, yeah, it was just being that isolated was not without its challenges. And we were 7 hours from Cape Town, which is the nearest city, basically living, you know, kind of glamping, living in these river lodges along the river, which were very nice. And you know, their hosts were great, but nevertheless, it's a lot to ask of people over an extended period of time. And the actors and everyone were, you know, patient with it all, but it nevertheless, I think, made it a better movie because we could give the actors a 360-degree set and put them in this isolated environment that just helped them to actually imagine and get what that would feel like and get in character. Because I think really this movie is, the villain is their isolation. That's what they're up against.
Okay, all right. Now for the triptych, like 3 acts, 3 chapter structure, was that always the plan, or did that come in like editing?
It was in the script, and actually at one point there was a 4th chapter. You know, there was a Remy chapter, and you know, it was something that we discussed. Do we really need this? And it always felt like, no, that like this is helpful. And I mean, there's different ways you can think about what those chapter markers represent. And probably won't say more just for fear of giving anything away, but I think it's open to interpretation. But ultimately, you know, with the editor and the producers, we felt that no, these really do merit their place, and they do help move the movie along. So kept them in.
I noticed like the personality change with Remy when she was older. So what was it like casting Brooklynn Prince as the younger Remy and then Nell Tiger Free as the older one?
Well, so Brooklynn was the first actor to attach, and her attaching was really what put this movie and really got it going, got it off the ground. And so when looking for an older version of her, you know, we were looking for an older version of Brooklynn, and we're very lucky to have found Nell. I think there actually, I definitely see a resemblance, and you know, there was some work that needed to be done, like they have different color eyes, so Nell was wearing contacts, and had to change her hair, but I do think there were this sort of odd similarities in demeanors of just the two actresses themselves. And I do think Nell, she shot her scenes mostly after Brooklyn. They did overlap a little bit, which was good to be able to get a sense of each other. But it was fun to see her try to, channel Brooklyn's performance while also making it her own, because she's playing a version of her 10 years older, and who's also been after this pretty extreme break that has occurred, and when we meet her in the 10 years later, she's effectively, she's staying pretty quiet. Right.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating, which is like I kind of thought of your film as a relay race, and how it's like kind of like passing the baton to the next actor. So I don't know if you wanted to speak to
I like
that.
I'd never thought of that analogy, but I really like that. I might use that.
Yeah. And what was it like for you as a director, just working with Brooklyn and then working with Nell, and just like did they have to mirror each other in any ways, or was there anything new that Nell brought to the character?
It's a very good question. I mean, there was no explicit like, we need to, be like her. I think that was sort of naturally occurring. And, I think at the script level, trying to make sure that the character was consistent throughout, that there is a sort of quiet determination to her when she's younger and when she's older. And I think I felt confident in what Nell was doing as older Remy, and that it felt very much in line with what Brooklyn was doing, and so was then able to trust her to bring her own presence into the character. And I mean, with each of them, not just Nell and Brooklyn, but with Ismael and Sofia and Jonny, they all have different ways of working, which was great. As a first-time feature director, it was a real learning experience for me to see, just to accommodate those different styles and learn from those different styles. And, yeah, I mean, they were all a pleasure to work with, and they're all such pros that you had to up your own game.
Fair. Now, what was it like putting this cast together?
It was a roller coaster, but but as I said, so Brooklyn was the first to attach, and in each case, they're all taking a huge leap of faith, right? I mean, I think when I sat down to write the script, I deliberately like, okay, I'm going to do basically one location. It's just going to be a few roles, but each of those roles is going to be meaty. There's substance to it, and I think that was what allowed us to punch above our weight, frankly, and in getting such accomplished actors. And so these roles were appealing to them. This was an opportunity for them to show a side either that they that maybe hadn't been able to explore before, or just dive into a character that they found interesting. And so given that interest, then the real question was just like making sure that there was a rapport and that they could trust me. And so we had calls like this together. Some went for a long time, hours long, just talking through the characters and how I saw this story, and yeah, I mean, they were all incredible collaborators. I think and the characters evolved in their hands, both on and off the set.
Awesome. Now, as a first time, you mentioned this is your first feature. So as a first time feature director, when working with a cast like this, working on a set like this, what would you say was the biggest lesson that you took from this film?
Biggest lesson? Let's see. I would say it's about, for me, I think working with people who, as I said, have different styles of working, but recognizing that they are very talented, and trusting that talent. In trusting them, you are able to then give them the space to really develop their character and give you something exciting and honest and true. And I think that on the flip side, that also comes from basically having a very, being as clear as you can be about your own vision, and being confident in it, so that they trust that what you're doing, so that they have the confidence then to bring, to make those choices and feel supported and free. And yeah, I mean, directing, it's a learning experience. I will, hopefully get to do it again. And I think we'll continue to learn from every actor I work with for the rest of my life, hopefully.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to the next project then. And so your film releases in theaters on July 23rd?
Yeah, in the US, yeah, July 23rd.
All right, awesome, cool. So Wyatt Rockefeller, who writes and directs Settlers, thank you for chatting with me on the Movie Buff Show.
Hey, well, thank you very much. It's been a treat, and I really appreciate it.